name is Richard. I am 84 years old. If someone asked me what helped me build a company worth $500 million, I could answer very quickly, clearly, confidently. I would talk about discipline, about ambition, about not quitting when others stop. I've said those things many times on stages, in boardrooms, in interviews. And every time I was met with nods. It sounded right, it sounded reasonable. But there is one thing I never said, at least not until now, that all of those things only work if you also believe one more thing, that your family will understand, that your wife will wait, that your children will grow up and look at you with pride, not with unfamiliar eyes. I believed that for so long it stopped feeling like a choice and started feeling like a rule. Work first, family later, endure now. It will be fine later. And because everyone said the same thing, I never stopped to ask whether I was paying a price for it. I didn't think I was greedy. I thought I was sacrificing. I didn't think I was absent. I thought I was building the future. I didn't think I was losing my family. I thought they were standing still waiting for me. Now, at 84, I've come to realize something that's hard to hear. Some beliefs are praised by society, yet still powerful enough to destroy an entire life. And I lived my whole life inside one of those beliefs. I'm not saying this because I think I'm wiser than you. Honestly, if you took me back 30 or 40 years, I probably wouldn't have listened to someone like me either. I would have thought he was pessimistic, or weak, or simply not driven enough. I thought that about many older people back then. I believed they spoke that way because they had failed. I believed I was different. But the reason I'm sitting here now speaking slowly, one sentence at a time, isn't to prove that I figured something out. I no longer need to be right. At this age, being right or wrong doesn't bring safety anymore. The only thing that remains is time, and I don't have much of it. No doctor has told me I'm dying. There's no tragedy here, just a body that reminds me every morning it's worked long enough. My heart tires more easily. My knees ache more. My memory isn't as sharp as it once was, back when I could recall every number on a balance sheet. I forget small things now. But there's one thing I remember very clearly, so clearly that sometimes I wish I could forget it. I remember the things I didn't say. I remember the evenings I chose to stay at the office, not because there was urgent work, but because I thought I should. I remember answering partners' calls immediately, while letting my wife's phone ring a little longer. I remember the look in my children's eyes every time I said, "Dad's busy." I don't remember exact dates, but I remember the feeling. And that feeling hasn't faded. I'm not telling you this to make you change your life tomorrow. I don't have that right. I'm saying it because if I don't say it now, I'll carry it with me to the end. And I don't want this confession to die with me. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to agree. But you should know that what I'm about to say doesn't come from books or philosophy or success. It comes from someone who walked all the way down the road you believe is right and stood at the end of it alone long enough to understand what it cost. When I was younger, I didn't think I was choosing wrong. Truly, I didn't wake up each morning intending to trade my family for money. I just woke up and did what seemed necessary. I had a job to keep, a family to support, a very familiar feeling that if I slowed down, everything would collapse. then, everyone said the same thing. Work hard first, get stable, then think about the rest. Family will understand. Your wife will understand. Children grow up fast, and they won't remember the little things anyway. I heard those lines so often, they stopped sounding like advice and became something that didn't need questioning. I believed them because everyone around me believed them, and because they helped me sleep at night. I remember feeling proud when I said I was doing everything for my family. It sounded good. It sounded right. It made my absences seem justified. When I missed a dinner, I told myself I was trading it for a better future. When I wasn't there for a school performance, I told myself I was laying the groundwork so my children wouldn't have to worry later. I didn't see myself as selfish. I saw myself as responsible. What I didn't realize then was something very simple. The future isn't a fixed place you arrive at later. It's happening every day. And in those days, I wasn't there, not because I didn't love my family, but because I believed love could be put on hold, like an appointment rescheduled to next week. If someone had told me back then that these choices would leave gaps that could never be filled, I wouldn't have believed them. I would have said they were exaggerating. I would have said I was in control. I would have said I was different. And that certainty is exactly what kept me from ever looking back. So, everything went on without a single moment big enough to make me stop. No crisis, no warning bell. Just the same phrases repeated so lightly, I didn't realize they were taking years from my life. Later, I said when my child tugged at my sleeve while I was working. Not now, I said. When my wife asked when we'd finally take a real vacation. Just a few more years, I said, when even I began to feel tired. Those phrases sounded reasonable. They didn't hurt. They didn't make anyone angry. They gave me the sense that I was still in control. I was still a responsible husband, a devoted father, a man who didn't avoid his duties. I was just finishing this one thing first. A few years passed quickly, then a few more. I didn't notice when my children grew taller. I didn't notice when my wife stopped waiting for me to eat dinner. Everything happened very quietly. So quietly that I didn't feel like I was trading anything away. I thought I was just postponing things a little. Time, if you don't look straight at it, never reminds you that it's moving. It just passes. And one day, you look back and realize you lived too many days that were exactly the same. And in those days, the people who mattered most learned to live without you. There is one evening I still remember clearly. Not because it was special, but because it was so ordinary. I came home late like always. It was already dark. The living room light was on, but there were no voices. On the dining table was a plate of cold food loosely covered with plastic wrap. Beside it was a small note in my wife's familiar handwriting. Just one line: I put the kids to bed. I stood there for a moment. Not long. I loosened my tie, reheated the food, sat down and ate alone. Everything went smoothly, just like hundreds of other evenings. But when I put the dishes in the sink, I saw a drawing in the trash. The paper had been lightly crumpled, probably because there was no more room on the refrigerator. A drawing of 4 people holding hands. One figure was drawn smaller, standing a little apart. Underneath, in uneven letters, it said, "Our family." I picked up the drawing. There was no music in my head, no surge of emotion, just a strange emptiness. I don't know how long I stood there. I didn't knock on my child's door. I folded the paper and put it in a drawer. I told myself I'd talk to them over the weekend, that I'd make it up later. That weekend I was busy again. Now I'm sitting here, alone, in a very quiet house. I have many things that I once believed would make me feel secure: money in the bank, documents proving I was successful, a name that's still occasionally mentioned in meetings I no longer attend. But there are things that are no longer here. And not because I lost them, because I wasn't present long enough to hold on to them. My wife had grown used to making decisions on her own years before we officially drifted apart. My children grew up with memories of a father who was always busy, always promising, and rarely there at the right moment. I can't buy back the dinners that went cold. I can't return to the evenings when my child sat waiting with a drawing in hand. I can't repair the silences that stretched on too long between my wife and me until there was nothing left to say. Some distances once formed can't be crossed with apologies alone. The most unsettling part is this: only after everything was over did I clearly see the price I had paid. But by then, I had already paid it in full. There were no alternatives left, no chance to trade back, just the unmistakable realization that some things once missed don't come with a second version to do right. I used to think success meant building something big enough that no one could doubt me. Numbers going up, scale, my name appearing in conversations I wasn't even in. I thought success was the ability to carry everything alone without stopping. Now, at this age, I understand a different definition, simpler and more painful. Success isn't what still stands when you leave. It's who is still there when you come back. I used to believe money could buy time. Now I know it only buys absence that feels justified. I used to think I was building something for my family. Now I understand I was building something else while my family learned to manage on their own, as I stayed busy, calling it sacrifice. If you're listening this far, there may be a few familiar sentences in your mind. You tell yourself you're busy because you're carrying the weight. You tell yourself you're doing it for your family. You tell yourself it's just this phase. I said the same things. I said them with certainty, with logic, until I believed they were true. You may think your situation is different, that your pressure is heavier, that if you stopped now, everything would collapse. I once believed I was the only support, that if I wasn't present at work, everything would fall apart. But the truth is, when you're not present at home long enough, the people there learn how to live without you. You may be telling yourself your children are still young and will understand later, that your spouse is strong enough to wait, that you'll make it up in a few years. I only want you to notice one small thing: you're using the present tense to talk about the future, but that future has never signed any agreement to wait for you. I once thought I was different too. I believed I was clear-headed enough to stop at the right time, that I knew where the line was, that I wouldn't go so far as to lose what truly mattered. People like me always believe that, and that belief is exactly what makes it more dangerous. None of us think we're abandoning our families. We think we're just putting things aside. None of us think we'll become the one who arrives too late. We think we're only a little late. But time doesn't record intention. It only records presence or absence. I once believed that when I returned, everything would still be there. That affection doesn't wear down if you have a good reason. That gaps can be filled with explanations. I was wrong. Not in a dramatic way, but in a very quiet one. So quiet that by the time I realized it, there was nothing left to fix. If you believe you'll be the exception, I have no way to change your mind. I once stood in that exact place, with that exact belief and that exact confidence. And I walked the entire road to learn that it isn't built for exceptions, only for people who think they are one. Now I am 81 years old. I have more time than at any other stage of my life, but this time has no wait. There are no faces waiting for me to come home, no voice calling from the next room, no one asking if I'm tired today. I won many things in my life, but the things I lost don't come with a rematch. If I said I've accepted this, I'd be lying. I've only grown used to it. Those two things are not the same. Every evening when the house is so quiet, I can hear the wall clock ticking. I think about other evenings when I chose not to be there. Not because I didn't love them, but because I believed I still had time. You may be listening to me and thinking that you're still fine, that your family is still there, that you're just pushing a little longer. I don't have advice for you. I only have one question, the one I didn't ask myself early enough. If you keep living exactly as you are now, with the same priorities, the same postponements, the same belief that everything can be made up for later, then 20 years from now, when you're sitting alone in a quiet room, will you call what you're trading today success or the price